Hi and welcome. A recent addition to Camera Raw and Lightroom are profiles, and they live here. But what are they and how do they work? In photography and digital imaging, the term profile can mean a load of different things. There are colour profiles, display profiles, printer profiles, working profiles, and so on. Within Adobe Camera Raw and Lightroom, a profile is used to render your photograph, to actually convert it from the raw digital camera image, which is basically zeros and ones from your sensor, and it converts this information into the colours and tones that we recognise as an image. In this video, you're going to learn the power of profiles and presets in Adobe Camera Raw and how they can help with editing your images. Well, let's get right down to it. My name's Ken Fisher and this is LiveLink Training. And don't forget, if this is your first time with LiveLink Training, please visit my website, and if you scoot to the bottom of any page, just give this link a click here to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be really helpful. Thank you very much. Let's get on. Simply put, a profile is a set of instructions that determine how a file is processed. I like to think of it as setting the look or the style of your image. And it's also a starting point for all your other adjustments. They are non-destructive, so can be changed at any time without any harm to your image. Now, a huge benefit of profiles is that they can use colour lookup tables or LUTs to remap colours so they can process images in new and very exciting ways. So let's start by looking at some of the profiles designed specifically to deal with RAW files. Now, because of the importance of profiles, they've been moved up the Camera Raw food chain, from the calibration panel way down at the bottom to the top of the basic panel, so they are easier to see and easier to access. The default profile for RAW files is Adobe Color, and you can see it here. Now, if your profile is not set to Adobe Color by default, then either you're working on a JPEG file, in which case the default colour will probably be set to colour, because you can't apply a RAW profile to a JPEG image. Or you're working on a legacy file, in which case you'll see its previously embedded profile, and you can change this at any time if you want. Now, if we click here, what we can get is we can actually browse. Now, Adobe Standard was the default in previous versions of Camera Raw. It was designed to be a great starting point for your photos, that it could enable you to get the most out of them while editing. However, it was also created nearly 10 years ago, and over that time Adobe have learned a lot about what photographers want and have gained great feedback on how they can make an even better starting point. And from this feedback, a new default was born, Adobe Color. So now Adobe Color is being designed to be a great starting point for any colour image. And the profile was designed to render an image that closely matched the colours and tones of the original scene. It's a great starting point that you can further refine the image to get the exact look you want. Now, it really is a bit warmer in the reds and oranges and yellows, and it produces much better skin tones. Now, if we set the treatment to black and white, the profile is automatically set to Adobe Monochrome. Now, this profile has been designed to be the best starting point for any black and white image. It shifts the colours as they convert it to grayscale, brightening the warmer colours and darkening the cooler colours. And it also adds a little bit of contrast, but it does allow you a lot of wiggle room for editing. Now, if we switch back to all, you can see in the browser here that we've got Adobe Color and Adobe Monochrome. They're the top two. They're the ones we've already discussed. Now, what you do is you just hover over a profile to see its effect in the image. You can see that changing as I hover. But you need to click on a profile to actually apply it to the image. Now, every RAW image must have a profile, but it can only have one. So clicking on one profile will remove the previous one. Okay, so you can see we've got some others in here. So let's see how these other profiles differ from the default ones of Adobe Color and Adobe Monochrome. Now, first we've got Adobe Landscape. Now, if I just hover over that, you can say, well, I'll give it a click. I'll go back to Adobe Color and then I'll hover and you should see some differences. Now, as the name implied, it's designed for landscape photos with more vibrant skies and greenery. And while the profile has a little bit of contrast to the overall image, it also helps to protect detail, and it does this by slightly compressing the highlight and shadow values in scenes that have significant contrast. Next, we've got Adobe Neutral. Now, this reduces the saturation and contrast by rendering a very flat, low contrast version of the image. It's designed to give you the most headroom for when you're post-processing. It's a great profile to start with if you've got delicate colours or gradients. Next, we've got Adobe Portrait. It's optimised for all skin tones, providing more control and better reproduction of skin tones. With less contrast and saturation applied to skin tones throughout the photo, you get more control and precision for critical portraiture. And finally, we've got Adobe Vivid. And this adds vibrance and contrast while still rendering natural skin tones. So it's a great starting place for images of people in landscapes. And of course, the one that I just missed is the one we talked about. It's the old version, the legacy version of Adobe Standard. Okay, next we've got a set of profiles called Adobe Camera Matching Profiles. Let me just close that down and we'll have a look here. Now, Adobe created these to match the different options often found in your camera, making it possible for you to match the colour and tonality of your camera RAW file with what you saw on your camera's LCD or in the JPEG rendered by your camera as closely as possible. Now, the options available for any particular camera will vary depending on which, obviously, camera you have. And these are mine, Faithful and Landscape and Neutral and Portrait and Standard. Okay, next, let's have a look. We'll open up the artistic profiles. Now, these have been designed to add more of a stylistic effect to an image rather than set like a neutral starting point. Now, as well as RAW files, these can be added to JPEG and TIFF files. Now, profiles in this section tend to be more punchier with much stronger colour shifts. Now, once you've applied one of these profiles, so let's say we'll go for Artistic 1, we can actually change with the amount slider how much of the profile we add. So we can go down to 0, or we can actually increase the intensity of the profile. Next, there are a number of creative black and white profiles. Just close that up, open the black and white. We can see here if we hover over them. Now, some limit the dynamic range by lifting the blacks in an image. Others will try and mimic the effect of using colour filters with film. And again, we just hover over to get a preview. Okay, below these are what we call the modern profiles, and these are designed to give the effects that fit more with current photography styles. So we've got a host of little modern ones that we can click on as a starting point. Now, under modern, we've got vintage. In the vintage area, we've got a set of vintage profiles designed to replicate the effect of analog imagery. So you can see here we've got quite a lot of vintage ones that tend to be a little bit, try to make it look a little bit oldie worldy, I suppose. And then underneath this, if we've got any profiles that you've installed from third parties, they'll appear here underneath in this area. Now, as you move through the profiles, you can add them to your favourites by clicking on the star. So let's have a look at that. If we say we looked at Artistic and we really liked Artistic 1, little star in the corner, add to favourites. If I click on it, now I've got one in my favourites. If I want something from camera matching, let's say I'll go Faithful, click on that. I've now got two. And now to remove it, we just click on the star again. So I can remove that one from the favourites and remove that one from my favourites. Now, there's two methods of viewing these profiles, and that's over here in this little drop down. We've got grid view, which is what we've got at the moment, and we've got list view. And in list view, rolling over will still give you the look. So you can roll over a preview and it'll show you what it's going to look like on the image. Now once you've selected the profile that you want, if you double click on it, it'll add that profile and it'll close down the profile section for you. Now we can quickly view our favourites, but I haven't got any favourites at the moment. I've just deleted them both. So let me go back to grid and I'll say I've got a couple of favourites. I like that one and I like that one. So I've got two favourites. So now if we close down the profiles area, I can quickly get to see what my favourites are by just clicking and dropping down this list here. So now I've got my camera standard, but then I've got camera faithful and camera portrait as two favourites that I've selected. Okay. Now profiles are independent of all other controls in a camera raw image. So once you've applied a profile, you can use any of the other controls in any of the other panels to make more changes. You can even save a profile as part of a preset. Okay, let's look at a bit of an example. Now I may want to start this image off with a particular profile. And let's say I fancy the Adobe Landscape one. So if we open the profiles, I find the Adobe Landscape and I click on it. So I've now applied that profile, but I'd like to put this as part of a preset that desaturates the sky a little bit. Okay, let's close down the profile section and we'll go to the basic panel. There's nothing much in there that I'd like, but what I can do is say, let's say the HSL adjustment. I'll click on saturation and then I'll just take the blues down. So we're just taking the blues down, but we're leaving all the rest of the colours. Okay, that's fine. And now what I can do is I can go and make a preset of this. So I'll click on the presets little button up at the top and I'll go down to the bottom to add a new preset. And this one I'll give it a name. Well, you can see I've already been playing about with one, so I'll call this DSAT Sky 2. I'm going to put it in the user presets. Let's pick the treatment and profile, so it actually puts the treatment and the profile in with this preset. But I also want to go down and put a tick in the HSL adjustments section. So now I've got my treatment and I've got my HSL adjustments. And then I can click, oops, just a minute, I've called it Shy. Let's call that Sky. There we go, DSAT Sky 2, and we'll click OK. And now you can see in my user presets area I've got DSAT Sky and DSAT Sky 2. Now that I've got that preset saved, I can go and select another image. Let's say select this one, and I can apply that preset, which includes the profile and desaturating the sky. So I can say that's my DSAT Sky that I did earlier. This is the one that we just did together. And all I do, I can just hover over to see what it's going to be like and click on it to apply it. Now as you'll see again, as with profiles, Camera Raw now ships with some default presets. And all you do is just hover over one. So we've got some colour ones, we've got natural and bright and high contrast. And we've got a star again, which is the add to favourites. So if I want to, I can click on that and it will add to the favourites panel at the top of the panel. Now again, to remove a preset, just click on the star to remove it. Now presets are now also saved as XMP files. Now this makes them compatible not only across Camera Raw, but also across all the Lightroom products, which is very exciting. And the Adobe Camera Raw as a filter in Photoshop. Well, that's it for your introduction to profiles and presets. I do hope that you found it useful. I'll see you in the very next video. Bye for now.